Welcome to another edition of After Hours with Defo and Lubie here on the Believe Network. I'm Jeff DeForest. He is Mike Lubie Lubitz, and Hoops very much in focus this week as we are featured here on a Peel Yourself Off the Mat Monday. And the Miami Heat peeled themselves off the mat to get a win in a pivotal Game 3 in Boston and now face a pivotal Game 4 against the Boston Celtics, as all games seem to be pivotal when it comes to the postseason. We welcome to the show one of our favorite basketball analysts from the Associated Press, a longtime NBA writer there, the great Brian Mahoney out of the Big Apple in New York City. Brian, how are you, my friend?
It's good to be on this pivotal show. Thank you very much.
No, it's funny because people are always talking about who the pressure is on and whether a game is pivotal or not. And it seems to me of the whether you're going 4 games or 7, all of them are pivotal in some sense. But this series really has pivoted a couple of times. In fact, every other game, as the Celtics went dead flat in the third quarter in game number 1, got blown out of the building there right into Biscayne Bay. And even though they sort of came back and were a little contentious, still, that was pretty much the ball game. Second game, they annihilate the Miami Heat on their home wood in almost an inexplicable blowout. And then the reversal as the Heat go on the road, and it looked like Boston had kind of gathered the momentum, and they had the home court advantage. And the Heat, without Jimmy Butler, go out and beat the Boston Celtics fairly handily. So are there any conclusions that we could draw so far? I mean, what do you see as the key deductions that have come out of this series so far, or is it still very much up in the air as to what's happening?
No, it is funny. It does change, as you say, so quickly. I mean, after game 2, I think even a lot of Miami fans probably were saying, oh gosh, Kyle Lowry's hurt, PJ Tucker might be hurt, Bam Adebayo is playing not very good. We have no chance now. And then all of a sudden, Kyle Lowry plays, PJ Tucker plays, Bam Adebayo has a great game, and all of a sudden it's like, wow, Miami might win the series again now, and I'm sure Boston will come back tonight and play great, and then no one will know what's going to happen again. When two good teams like this go at each other, either one can swing it quickly, and that's what we've seen so far.
We don't know which way. I mean, people always speculate, well, the networks, the executives are going to be gargling with cyanide if such and such team gets into the final round there, or they have a bad matchup in any sport. We've seen that said many times, so whether it was baseball, basketball, hockey, to maybe a lesser extent football. But it did seem like maybe there was an agenda there. I mean, to Tim Donaghy give the referees instructions, people were implying here in South Florida and even elsewhere around the country that seemed like a somewhat biased approach by the officials in that Game 3 between Boston and the Miami Heat. What did you think? I mean, should Eric Spoelstra have underlined without saying anything the disparity in the number of free throws taken in that game? Or was Boston just playing a clean ball game while Miami was cheating?
There you go.
Yeah, they were playing clean. No problems, no fouls.
There's always some calls that look, either awful or suspect or whatever the word you want to see. But the game was so out of hand early. I think it sort of Boston had to, attack, trying to get back in it. And, some of those calls, I'm sure they would have liked to have gone the other way. But the important thing is ultimately, none of the bad ones, played into the end result.
Do you find any purpose on a broadcast to having the ex-NBA official, a guy that you probably booed unmercifully while he was working in the NBA, coming, to essentially back up the call of the officials in the game when they go to, here's our expert on the rules. And it doesn't matter really what sport it is. It seems like the expert on the rules gives you nothing definitive and usually sides with the officials and has great empathy for them blowing a call that was apparently and painfully obvious.
I think we sort of expect them not to, sort of go against their brother official. The one thing I think they do offer when they're being honest, is sort of explaining why they're looking at some calls. We've seen a lot this year, I think, guys, where they're reviewing calls that you're like, come on, why are we even looking at this? It's like they're looking at like an offensive flagrant foul where a guy jumps up to take a shot and bumps the guy in the head, and they're looking at it. And it's sort of like, come on, why are you looking at that? But I think there's been a couple times where they sort of explain at least that. I think they shouldn't bother doing it, but they're at least sort of informing us why they're doing it. So I guess there's a need for it a little bit. There are bigger problems with the officiating than the guy coming on.
Yeah, I guess I was spoiled by the great Harold Letterman in that capacity, where he was scoring fights for HBO forever, and his routine would be along the lines of 2 rounds to 1, Jim. The Mexican is beating the living shit out of this guy. 2 rounds to 1, Lopez. At least you were getting something there, like some kind of entertainment, component was worked into the broadcast. Whereas this just seems to be, a poor excuse to fill time by another voice. And if it's another announcer making a paycheck, I'm all for it. Brian Mahoney of the Associated Press with us here, and always great talking buckets with him. Golden State seems to be in complete command of the series against the Dallas Mavericks, who are kind of an improbable starter in this spot, as nobody thought that they would beat Phoenix, especially after going down 2-0 in that series. Are the Mavericks deserving? What happened? I mean, in your opinion, Brian Mahoney, what led, to 2 inexplicable bludgeonings of the Phoenix Suns by the Dallas Mavericks? And where does that leave us in the thinking that Phoenix was the best team in basketball all year long?
Yeah, it's how would Letterman explain it? He was great.
2 rounds to 1, Jim. The Mexican is winning this fight with the body blows. He's more aggressive, very effective. 2 rounds to 1.
He was fantastic.
Yeah, anyway, yeah. Sounded like Marge Simpson, didn't he? Yeah.
But look, it's I kind of said yesterday. Everyone loves an upset once in a while, but then sometimes you're stuck watching a team that isn't that good in the next round, and that's kind of Dallas just isn't all that good. I mean, they play hard. Luka Doncic is an incredible player, but the supporting cast is just average really, and unfortunately Phoenix just collapsed, choked, whatever happened to them. But this was a team that should be playing right now. And, Phoenix against Golden State would have been a great series probably, but Dallas against Golden State just unfortunately isn't.
Talking with Brian Mahoney of the Associated Press here on After Hours with Defo and Lubie. Lubie, I'm surprised you haven't chimed in with some kind of complaint about the way that Spoelstra is handling the Miami Heat, even though they're up 2-1 going into tonight's game against the Celtics.
Well, Brian, and to jump back to the Eastern Conference, first of all, it does feel like the Warriors are the class of the NBA right now. And on top of that, with them sort of coasting through the Mavs, what's going on with the Celtics and the Heat may be to the Warriors' dream, because it feels like that's going to be whoever survived will move on. Like between Jimmy Butler and Hero's now hurt and Kyle Lowry's banged up. And then you go back to the Celtics and Tatum took something to his shoulder, and then Smart's out and Robert Williams. It's like whoever survives that series health-wise seems to be the one to win that series. But it is interesting to see that from night to night, it's blowouts. These are two teams that are great defensively, have a lot of talent on offense, both sides, yet one night to the next, it's one blowout to the other. And that's sort of been confusing to me, because I thought this series, it may go 7, but it doesn't feel the war like we thought it would, or at least I thought it would.
No, you're right. Like the games have been. I think sometimes when teams are as good defensively as both these teams are, if you get hot against them, it sort of hurts them more than teams who just aren't used to it. And Boston got so hot from 3 in that game 2, and then Miami started great in game 3, and it sort of shell shocks the teams. But it's the health matter in this series. It always comes down to health, and Golden State has gotten all their guys healthy at the right time, and Miami and Boston, from game to game, you don't really know who's playing. So whoever is healthy is probably going to win that series, and it's just game to game it changes.
Does seem like they got it together at the right time. And we were talking about this earlier this morning, Brian, on our other show, the Defo show, that all year long, all you heard about was how great the East was, and they were so deep, and you figured, all right, the representative in the West is going to be Phoenix. They get knocked out. And now Golden State has it together, and I'm thinking that Golden State will be favored over either the Celtics or the Heat in the final round. They do have home court advantage over the Heat, and obviously then over the Celtics, but What is your thought there? Do you believe that the champion somehow will come out of the West, even though their number one team is no longer in the postseason, and everybody thought that the East went like six deep with teams that could possibly win the title?
It feels like right now I would pick the Warriors. As much as I never rule out the Heat, and I really like the Celtics. How the individual talent they have and the team defense they play, but Golden State is they just they're healthy. They have the experience. Their bench is pretty good. They bring guys off. Poole and Porter and those guys are doing a great job. Looney's playing terrific in the middle now. So I just think everything is sort of going their way. And right now I think whoever comes out of the East, I think would be considered the underdog against the Warriors.
I don't know if you subscribe to this sort of notion, but I was always a fan of the cheesy sports production that, like Make That Spare. What was a favorite program of mine when I was a kid growing up. It was a real hokey bowling show. You've had various others. Bowling for Dollars, I guess, involved more regular people than professional bowlers. Home Run Derby, the original version, was kind of quiet there, and, there was nobody in the ballpark. But I don't think there's a cheesier sports production on TV than the NBA Draft Lottery in terms of an unnecessary television program or entity. I mean, they could have Van Gundy chime in the middle of the game somehow and say, hey, look at that. Orlando got the number one pick. They'll probably suck again. And for years, I mean, the only entertainment quotient in the show was watching Elgin Baylor writhe in agony as the Clippers got hosed once again, man, and failed to get the number one pick after having the worst team in the league by far. And, that was going to make a big difference, almost like Jabbar versus Neil Walk-esque in that particular draft. What do you think about what's going on in this year's draft and who it seems like it's like any one of three guys, I guess, would be the number one overall pick? Do you have any opinion on that? I mean, who do you think is actually going to beat the first pick for Orlando if they indeed go ahead and exercise that number one choice?
I can't tell really which one of those three guys would be the one. I mean, I know everyone looks at the potential that Holmgren has, but he's, so thin. They're all obviously so young. It's hard to project these guys a little bit. People say, Smith has Jabari has the best overall NBA body, whatever. But who could tell? But it's the fact of the matter is all these teams who are at the bottom, they're all so young already. I think you sometimes wonder, do they really need another young player? Orlando has been young for years, it seems like, and Detroit now and Houston, since they traded Harden, it's been the same way. So,
those are some bad teams. I mean, seriously bad teams. Like perennially bad teams.
They really are. And, that's why when you talk about why there's so many good teams in the East, because they beat up on so many bad teams that are out there.
Yeah. Well, Brian, and I know you're out of the Northeast, but it's because we are out of Miami, we didn't start with this, but it seems like any national broadcast, whether it's a sports report or live action, is starting with the Lakers, even though they didn't even make the playoffs or the play-in game. But they are looking for a head coach, and it seems like Juwan Howard turned down even the opportunity to interview. Darvin Ham supposedly has become one of the front runners. You cover the NBA at large. What are you hearing out of LA with the Lakers, and when it comes down to their head coaching search?
Well, yeah, it's been sort of weird. There's so many people involved in this that advising Jeannie Buss on this hire, and they got down to the last candidates, it seems like now, and Ham being the one who it seems like has a lot of, he's a lot of respect. He's been a good assistant coach for years and was a hard-nosed player in the league. I think a lot of guys like him. And, I think that would be a pretty good choice. It's just, I think that job scared off a lot of people. The way things went last year, how much power does LeBron have there and who's really calling the shots? Is Phil Jackson still around? It's I think it scared off some coaches who I think otherwise would have been interested. It's people wondering, is this really a job I want to deal with the headaches?
Has David Blatt's name been mentioned at all? I would think he would be an unlikely candidate to be coaching LeBron anytime in the future. Speaking of who's really the general manager there in Los Angeles. Brian, always a pleasure. Well, we'll see what happens. Should be one of those intriguing matchups tonight. Many people feeling the Boston Celtics will bounce back and even this series at 2 apiece. And the line makers, oddly according the Heat 6.5 points in tonight's game, and a giant dose of disrespect for what the Heat accomplished there without Jimmy Butler in game number 3. Enjoy the rest of the postseason. We hope to talk to you again. Thanks so much for being a part of After Hours today with Defo and Lubie, my friend.
Thank you, guys. Take care.
Thanks a lot. I do like cheesy sports productions.
Oh yeah.
Did you? You must have caught some Bowling for Dollars.
Bowling for sure.
Was there a Florida version of that? Some very distinguished guys were hosts of Bowling for Dollars, including the late great Chick Hearn, who's been so obscenely and absurdly, depicted in the Winning Time show. Chick Hearn, man. I mean, they made a fool of Chick Hearn. He was a class guy.
Made a fool of a lot of
but
people.
actually hosted Bowling for Dollars in Los Angeles. They have like local versions, and I'm pretty sure there was a prominent guy. I don't know if it was like Mel Allen that was doing Bowling for Dollars in New York, Red Barber, or one of those guys. It could have been Rizzuto. He would have been perfect for it. Bowling for Dollars. Ah, look at that, the 10-pin. Reminds me the other night, I had the calamari, and they brought 10, little calamaris, and, no, he would have transitioned. He would have been perfect for the schmooze there. All right, a lot of fun being with you guys. What's your prediction tonight on the game there, Louie? Heat go up 3-1, or Heat end up in a dead heat, now have to come home, defend home wood in a best of 3?
I don't know if they win, but I don't like that spread. I think we finally, since we've seen a lot of blowouts, I think we finally see, and so I'll be wrong, but I think we finally see a close game, and I think the Heat cover. I hope they win, of course. I don't know if they win, but I think we'll see a cover. I'm curious. Butler is questionable, but so far in this series, that's meant they're going to play. Butler's questionable. Hero, we don't know. I don't know about Smart. I don't know about
Hero's in La La Land anyway.
Yeah,
he hasn't done much. Yeah,
but he did have a couple of interesting moments in that game, and then he didn't play really the whole fourth quarter. I think that he covers 6.5, and it'll probably go up before game time. The way that everyone's betting against the Heat for some reason. So I think the Heat cover. I don't know if they win, but I think they cover.
Harvey Fialkoff, who somehow tuned into this thing, says that it was Joe Franklin. Didn't Joe Franklin? Oh, that was Joe Pine had one leg. That would have been hard for him to, kind of, I don't mean to be disparaging, but, to move around on the set, let's put it that way, which was required. Joe Franklin, and Harvey says his mother was on Bowling for Dollars.
That's funny.
Wow. Holy Paula Carter. Unbelievable.
That's classic.
Can we name another female bowler? I knew Paula Carter very briefly there, the lovely wife of Don. All right, that'll do it for us. Glad to know Harvey's around, man. What happened to this cat? He used to love us.
He's too good
on
for
the
us.
show all the time, and now I got to sleep. All right. Yeah, we probably put you to sleep here in this last few minutes of the program. Bowling for Dollars. It was a classic. I don't know. There had to be a different version in every city involving some kind of celebrity. All right. We'll see you tomorrow here on After Hours. And don't forget to Google the Defo Show. That's DEFO. You can plug it in on your radio like real easily also. Jack was showing me that the other day. So, wow. I mean, it's even simpler than I thought. And you can drive around and catch the show there, 7 to 9 Eastern Time on ION channel. And just Google the Defo Show, and you'll get all of the things that we do from 7 to 9 in the morning, which also used to include the great Harvey Fialkoff, no? I mean, here are the Yankees on a monumental run. I mean, you would figure the guy, I mean, he could easily fill up the whole 2 hours if we just said, hey, Harvey, what about your Yankees? I love that guy. You need that unbridled enthusiasm for sports sometime. Exactly. I mean, just to come through, because everybody's so cynical about everything, right? I mean, and you ask yourself, well, if you hate it so much, why are you watching it?
Exactly.
Right? If all you want to do is complain and bitch, why are you going to games? Why are you? It's like people that go to a restaurant and continue to give it like lousy reviews. And, they'll post it up there on whatever, sites are available for such things. And, I went there last night. I can't believe it. What a garbage dump this place is. It's like, what do you mean you went there again?
Exactly.
If it sucks that badly, why the hell are you going back? I mean, who's making you go?
Why you keep
8 million
going?
restaurants just here in town. On my walk of life,
I
I
love
blow
that.
by like 7 restaurants
I
in
love
one
that.
small area. It's unbelievable. And I often
People,
think about just quitting the walk and stopping in.
people are classic.
I have to bring some cash with me next time on the walk there and just stop at the Briny Pub and get a beer. All right, we will see you guys tomorrow here on After Hours. And don't forget, as we said, Google the Defo Show for Mike Lubie Lubitz. I'm Jeff DeForest, and it's Tug McGraw time, my friends. No matter what you're doing in life, you got to believe.